Lights in the Arctic Circle, Part 1, by elgatoverde. I work in a very remote mine in an area within the Arctic Circle, close to the North Slope. We will call this mine Gatoverde. Gatoverde is a decent-sized operation, covering maybe 40 square miles, working 24 hours a day, with 500 plus people, including lots of Alaskan natives, Americans, and Canadians, with a smattering of other nationalities. There are two main parts of the mine itself and the exploration camp. The exploration camp is approximately 5 miles south of the mine, connected via a dirt road that continues southward to the shipping port on the coast. Otherwise, there are no roads in or out of Elgato, and the only way to travel here is either by plane or heli, or hiking, ATV, or dog sled. I personally work in the exploration camp, where about 160 people are stationed, involved in various things like geology, drilling, meals, and housekeeping, and mostly construction workers. I'm not entirely sure about the day shift/night shift mix, but it's probably about 40-60. Shifts run from 2 to 6 weeks long, 10 to 13 hours a day, with 0 days off. I am currently on the night shift and have been seeing unexplained lights in the nearby hills. I recently investigated them and am having trouble sleeping due to what I witnessed and the fact that I can't talk about it, else I might be fired. It's affecting my work and, honestly, my sanity. I have one more 3-week-long shift after this one before the end of the exploration season, and I am uncertain as to whether or not I will come back. This really began almost a year ago, when I was here for my first season as a field assistant. It was a simple, well-paying job with exploration where I would basically do whatever needed doing, which included a lot of going into the nearby hills and mountains to assist with surveys, mapping, radio station maintenance, etc. The season starts in February, and I usually arrive in May, when the sunlight is nearly 24/7. During those sunny months, I never noticed anything extraordinary here, but would commonly see Arctic wildlife like foxes and bears and caribou, etc. Last year, my first night shift began in September, when there was true night and the sun would stay down longer and longer. We never did field work at night, as a safety precaution, but you can clearly see the surrounding hills and mountains from the camp, especially if the weather is fair. At that time of year, it usually is, at least here at the mine during the night. I would regularly take breaks from my work and wander around the camp. Working long hours with no weekends really drains you mentally and physically, so to combat insanity, I wander at night. Sometimes I would walk over to the small lake by our camp and sit and watch the sky for auroras or shooting stars. One of those nights, I was sitting on the hill above the lake looking towards the northwest at a hill called Volcano. FYI, we do not have volcanoes here. At the very crest of the hill, maybe 3/4 of a mile from me, I could see what looked at first like the glimmering blue-white light of a headlamp, which steadily grew brighter into a full white color, something like the headlamp of a car. It was only there for about a minute, and it didn't appear to be moving until it very rapidly became brighter, turning a hot white, and then disappearing altogether over the course of maybe 2 seconds. I was very confused at the time, and I remember thinking someone must be out there with their headlamp hiking at night, which we do have hunters who are allowed on site, but I've never personally met one. Witnessing the strange light show, I thought maybe there was an ATV out there and their headlamp blew out. I shrugged it off and I went back to work and asked my coworkers if they had seen any lights in the hills near Volcano, and they said the mine was looking for a new drilling site near there, but they wouldn't be out there at night. We didn't really discuss it any further, and it didn't seem too strange at the time. My coworkers and I saw a very similar occurrence later in October, from the same hill by the lake, on the crest of the hill just south of Volcano. Smiley. The hills and mountains here have really silly names, thanks to the original Western explorers of the area. Again, we all thought it was odd because no one should be out there at night, but didn't discuss it any further. Partly because it really wasn't that spectacular, and partly because we didn't want to get any other miners in trouble for leaving camp at night. If they want to get eaten by night bears, that's their choice. Fast forward to a few nights ago. I've returned for the 2018 season and work at a higher position now. It isn't completely dark here at night yet, just a deep blue, and you can see the planets. I'm on night shift again, and it's usually just my boss, our flight radio operator Beth, and me in our office/workspace in the exploration camp. It was about 3 o'clock when I decided to step out for a smoke break. As I'm standing there, glancing around the night sky, a shimmering light caught my eye. I look over to the northwest, just north of Volcano, and there on the crest is the exact same light I saw last year. Same colors, same intensity, same bright flash and vanish routine. Seeing it brought back memories of this light from last year. I stood there watching for several minutes after it vanished, and it never reappeared. I went inside and asked my boss if he had noticed the lights north of Volcano, and he informed me that the mine was in fact drilling a ways north of Volcano along the ridge. That was slightly comforting, until later that morning we were clocking out and walking across the pad to our kitchen, when I asked him to point out where the drilling was occurring. He guided my eye over to some very faint blue and yellow lights several miles north of Volcano, right beside the mine, several miles north of the light that I had seen. These were not the same lights that I had seen earlier or the year before. I asked him if there was a possibility of driving their vehicles closer to our camp, and he said he didn't think they would since the terrain is too rugged and there is no reason to come this way. For some reason, this made me feel slightly uncomfortable. I went to bed that morning around 7 o'clock in my tent by the lake, of which my door, coincidentally, faces directly towards Volcano. I didn't sleep well and had fleeting dreams about being on Volcano and seeing the light up close and feeling excited and afraid. I thought about the light all the next day and planned on spending more time outside that night to look for the light in the hills. It was 1:43, August 5th, when I saw the same light. This time, directly below the peak of Volcano. I didn't mention it to anyone. I couldn't work because my mind was lost in trying to think of what the light could be. Surely, if it were a hunter, I would have seen their light stay on continuously. And why does it flash like that? I made a plan to hike up there after clocking out at 5 a.m. Update. It's currently August 9th, 1947 hours. I had to break this up because there's a lot to say, but I need to get this out there to you so that you know what is going on here in Antarctica. Even if it is difficult to understand, the animals here are being harmed in a very unorthodox way. I will update you again as soon as possible. I'm currently on the clock. I've had poor sleep, and the internet is garbage. And my boss is continuously sneaking up behind me, so please be patient.